Strange Tales of the Liaozhai. In a quiet corner of Vietnam's southeastern region, a small town buzzed with sudden excitement one day, enlivened by the vibrant green hues of northern traditions. For days, locals had been abuzz with talk of young men from the People's Police Academy, their presence sparking lively discussions. Word was, these cadets, nearing the end of their training, were here for a practical political exercise. One group of officers cleared drainage ditches and reopened an overgrown path, while another toiled to reinforce the homes of impoverished, solitary families nearby, bracing them against the looming monsoon season. May heralded the southwest monsoon, with its early storms of thunder and lightning painting the skies. Dark clouds rolled in, casting an early dusk over the sprawling rubber plantations. As their tasks neared completion, the young officers dispersed along the red dirt roads, heading to the homes assigned for their three-togethers mission, living, working, and eating alongside the locals. Lai Min Thuan, perhaps captivated by this unfamiliar land or driven by curiosity, lagged behind his enthusiastic peers. A few comrades called out, urging him to join them, but he smiled warmly. "Go on ahead, guys. I'm staying at a house nearby." Spotting a cluster of wildflowers, Min Thuan decided to linger, seeking a moment of respite. He sat by the roadside, arms draped over his knees, hands clasped as if embracing himself to ward off the solitude. His gaze followed a squirrel scampering up a water apple tree near a narrow ditch, then leaping across to the boundary of a rubber plantation. Thinking the ditch small enough to cross with ease, Min Thuan stepped forward, only to sink one foot into the mud. He grabbed a clump of beetle grass to steady himself, but as he pulled his foot free, the grass gave way, scattering decayed rubber leaves and exposing a dark, writhing millipede, large as a centipede, crawling from the uprooted patch. Amid the debris, his eyes caught a glint, a tarnished, oxidized coin. Curious, Min Thuan picked it up, brushing it clean with his fingers. "What's this? Looks like a token for arcade games at some supermarket in Koh Nu," he mused. He spun the coin playfully, washed it off, and slipped it into his pocket, intrigued but not suspecting he'd stumbled upon an artifact from the ancient Phu Nam culture. Suddenly, storm clouds gathered, thunder rumbled, and lightning illuminated the sky as rain began to fall. Spotting a small bamboo hut with a half-open wall in the rubber grove, Min Thuan ducked inside to escape the downpour. Inside, a young man in a white shirt, resembling a high school student, sat quietly. His name was Bui Tan Lam, a strikingly handsome figure with suntanned skin and a rugged charm typical of the eastern region. His thick, sword-like brows framed eyes that carried an indescribable melancholy. Min Thuan nodded politely, offering a smile. "Mind if I take shelter here for a bit?" Tan Lam returned the nod, his sorrowful gaze meeting Min Thuan's. Noticing the northern accent, he replied softly, "Make yourself at home." A bolt of lightning cracked through the grove, startling Tan Lam, who glanced nervously outside. Min Thuan, sensing his unease, gestured to a bamboo bench raised off the ground. "Stay away from metal and conductive stuff. Come sit here." As he spoke, Min Thuan patted the bench and pulled the coin from his pocket, holding it up. "You're from the south, any idea what this is?" Tan Lam barely glanced at it before answering, "That's a casino chip from Kim Sang, Cambodia, issued 5 years ago. The place got caught up in illegal dealings, changed owners, and these chips lost their value. Vietnamese gamblers there use cash now, these low-value chips are obsolete." Min Thuan turned, surprised. "How do you know all that?" Tan Lam began to respond, "Because." A deafening thunderclap interrupted, the lightning so fierce it seemed to strike the hut itself. Tan Lam flinched, momentarily speechless, then stood abruptly. "Stay here. The rain's about to get worse." He darted out, vanishing into a nearby tamarind forest where lightning couldn't reach. Suddenly, a chain of the white impermanence, a ghostly enforcer of the underworld, lashed out. Tan Lam dodged, rising swiftly to his feet. "Soul reaping demon. I've waited 5 years for this day. Can't I even plead my unjust fate?" The white impermanence materialized, its voice cold. "You can't linger here any longer. As a restless spirit, you'll only suffer more when the heavens unleash their storms." Tan Lam's spectral form wept, tears streaming. "I want justice for myself. I've waited in this forest for 5 years. Are you soul reapers so heartless?" The demon's tone grew icy. "Enough talk. The worlds of the living and the dead are separate. I've allowed you to pass that chip to the one who needs it, out of pity for your years of injustice. Now, follow me." The white impermanence lashed out its chain, but Tan Lam's spirit summoned a whirlwind of forest leaves, obscuring the air. His ghostly power, fueled by years of unresolved grievances, surged, nearly overwhelming the demon. Lightning flashed, empowering the white impermanence's chain with negative energy, striking Tan Lam's spirit relentlessly. Writhing in agony, Tan Lam looked skyward, his voice breaking. "Heavens, where is justice? Am I to be denied my final chance to clear my name?" As the lightning intensified, Tan Lam's ghostly form grew denser, absorbing the storm's positive charge. The white impermanence, unable to harness more lightning, withdrew its chain. Tan Lam sprang up, vanishing like a wisp of mist. The black impermanence appeared beside its white counterpart. "He escaped again? I don't understand." The lightning suddenly shifted to positive charge, and his spirit absorbed it with unnatural strength. The black impermanence sighed. "Let him have his luck today. We'll hunt other souls for now and leave him to wander a bit longer." Compassion crept into its voice. "I pity him. He's endured bureaucratic injustice, the dark hand obscuring the law. Those men aren't demons like us, yet they twist black to white with despicable cunning. Perhaps the heavens see his plight." "Let's go," urged the white impermanence. Meanwhile, Min Thuan returned to a modest home nestled in an old rubber grove. Rural folk here retired early, lacking the entertainment of city life. The sparse population and dim, unlit nights lent the place a quiet, nostalgic air, stirring memories of bygone days. Alongside Min Thuan was Kor Sang Che, a Cambodian cadet studying at the academy, part of a program for trainees from Laos and Cambodia. Ong Nam, their host, was a former fighter in Cambodia's liberation movement against the Pol Pot regime. After its fall, he'd been stationed in a Phnom Penh suburb during a chaotic period of curfew and unrest, as remnants of the Khmer Rouge staged rebellions. Whether by chance or design, the three together's assignment paired the Cambodian cadet with Ong Nam, sparking nostalgic tales over simple meals and heartfelt tea sessions, marked by academy logos gifted to locals. Min Thuan placed the chip on the table, asking, "Ong Nam, do you know anything about this?" Ong Nam examined both sides, shaking his head. "Where'd you find this?" "If it's a casino chip, it's tied to folks gambling in Cambodia." Min Thuan gazed out at the darkened sky, where the sparse rubber trees of Ong Nam's plot seemed shrouded in eerie gloom, the wind howling like whispers from the underworld. "A young man in a hut told me it's a chip from a Cambodian entertainment complex, issued 5 years ago. But when the storm got bad, he panicked and left, probably afraid of lightning striking the hut. After the rain stopped, he didn't come back. I've got a strange feeling about it." Ong Nam fell silent, as if puzzled. Kor Sang Che picked up the chip, inspecting it but gleaning nothing. Cambodia's government permitted gambling but discouraged locals from participating, with most casino patrons being Vietnamese. Locals capitalized on foreign visitors to boost their economy, but tales of human trafficking, scams, drugs, prostitution, and gang violence were rampant, as Che had heard. Later, as Min Thuan washed dishes by the water basin, Ong Nam stepped out, his voice grave. "Leave those, I'll wash them. Go rest." Min Thuan smiled lightly. "It's fine, let me do it. Treat us like your own sons." Ong Nam relented, his eyes warm with approval. As he stepped away, the family dog began howling into the dark, an unusual behavior. Typically, it barked and chased intruders, but tonight it stood frozen, head tilted, retreating cautiously. Min Thuan, sensing something odd, grabbed a headlamp used by locals for nighttime rubber tapping and ventured into the grove, its bright beam cutting through the darkness. A sudden noise behind him, a snapped branch, made him whip around, the headlamp's light swinging wildly. He spotted a kite snake slithering in the distance, its venomous black and white bands glinting like a performer under a spotlight. Knowing its danger, Min Thuan watched it vanish into the leaf litter. He recalled Ong Nam's insistence that he and Che avoid night tapping, citing the risk of snakes like this one, which hunted under cover of darkness. Returning inside, Min Thuan shared the encounter, urging Ong Nam to be cautious. The old man, stirred by the tale, recounted a local death from 5 years ago tied to such a snake, a story long buried but now resurfacing. Min Thuan mused, "At the academy, we studied how staged crime scenes can be debunked. No matter how clever, forensic experts always uncover the true cause of death." Ong Nam chuckled. "That case was just an accident, son. The authorities closed it." He patted Min Thuan's shoulder. "It's late. Get some sleep. Glancing at his watch, Minthuan noted the rural habit of calling 9 p.m. late. With the house quiet and Ongnam retiring early, Minthuan followed suit, climbing into bed. His thoughts drifted to the melancholy young man in the hut, his haunting face etched with an indescribable sorrow. Eventually, Minthuan slipped into a restless sleep. In a rubber grove, hidden behind a patch of tall cassava, a group of gamblers had cleared a space for an illicit game. What began with fewer than 10 players swelled to over 20, betting from afternoon into dusk. Flashlights illuminated a map marked with numbers for Taisho, a high-stakes dice game. Though it appeared a casual gathering of laborers, the stakes were far from small. Mill owners, rubber barons, and wealthy locals placed bets in the tens of millions, sums rarely seen even in Cambodian casinos. Lookouts guarded the paths, ready to signal any trouble. A middle-aged man named Man, the game's organizer, seemed unconcerned, as if his operation were legal, backed by taxes paid to complicit local authorities. The gamblers, regulars at cross-border casinos, threw down stacks of cash with reckless abandon. In one round, the players, sensing a pattern in the covered dice, bet heavily on tie. Man, fearing a loss, barked, "No more bets," sparking a brief argument that quickly subsided. When the dice revealed tie, Mana's sly grin betrayed his skill. He'd rigged the roll. A young gambler, already deep in losses, exploded with rage at Mana's interference, lunging at him but missing. Others restrained him, wary of attracting police attention. Dragged from the cassava patch, the young man, still fuming, broke a stalk and stormed off, muttering threats. Alone under a rubber tree, he lit a pipe of locally grown cannabis, its smoke clouding his mind. As his eyes reddened, a sinister whisper echoed in his ears. "Kill Man. There's a rubber-tapping knife in the hut. He cheated you, bankrupted you with his rigged dice. Kill him." The voice grew louder, more insistent, until the young man, in a haze, saw Mana's face taunting him. Enraged, he grabbed the knife and charged back to the game. Behind him, a white-clad specter watched, its expression a mix of vengeance and satisfaction. "Your money buys you protection from the law, Man, but not from ghosts," it hissed. "Thank the drugs for this. I'll let another's hand end you." Chaos erupted as the drugged gamblers stormed the game, knife in hand. Man, guarded by his men, escaped with a deep wound, blood soaking his shirt. The gambler was subdued, the knife wrested away, as a sudden gust scattered golden rubber leaves across the scene. The specter, watching the sky flicker with lightning, vanished, whispering to itself as it drifted through the cassava and into the darkening rubber forest. A soul-reaping chain, invisible to the living, lashed out. The white-clad ghost, Ton Lam, dodged, perching on a rubber tree's branch, sneering. The white impermanence thundered, "Return to the underworld. The living have their laws, the dead their rules. You don't decide human fates." Ton Lam's eyes blazed with defiance. "And who decided mine? He's lived free for 5 years while I rot in injustice." The black and white impermanences unleashed their powers, a spectral battle raging through the forest. After hundreds of clashes, Ton Lam's spirit fragmented into countless firefly-like wisps, scattering across the grove. The demons, unable to pinpoint his true form, spotted one wisp fleeing toward a barren hill where police cadets were finishing their work. Opening the book of life and death, the black impermanence saw Ton Lam's spirit hiding in Min Thuan's black satchel. The white impermanence cast its chain, but a radiant lotus-like glow from the bag repelled it, sending the demon reeling. "What's in that satchel? Some book emitting a lotus light blocks my chain." "We'll have to wait for him to emerge," the white impermanence growled. The demons vanished, unaware that Min Thuan, carrying the satchel, remained oblivious to the spectral drama. Elsewhere, a man in a police uniform waited in the shadows of a cassava patch, impatient. A call from Man confirmed the gambling den's chaos, a knife attack with a rubber-tapping blade. Man, a wealthy rubber baron with a network of underlings, didn't need to lift a finger to profit. Yet his gambling addiction drove him to rig games, and though he could press charges for the attack, he preferred to settle it among brothers, avoiding the law. His wound, stitched up at a clinic, barely slowed him. Man met the officer in a secluded alley, slipping a wad of cash into his pocket. "Rough day," Man sighed. "That punk ruined my streak." The officer counted the money, 10 million dong. "You're always whining about losses. I'm the one taking risks here." Man clapped his shoulder. "You know me. I always take care of my boys." They parted, the officer riding off, unaware that Tan Lam's vengeful spirit trailed him, its ghostly tongue lashing out in the darkness. The officer shivered, mistaking the chill for the night air, and donned a jacket, oblivious to the specter retreating into the trees. The next day, Min Thuan, in civilian clothes, accompanied Ong Nam to the market. Passing a rubber grove, they saw a crowd gathered around a staying ethnic shaman, dressed in a yellow robe adorned with strange symbols. A yellow cloth draped his altar, and a woman sat opposite, her head wrapped in a matching scarf. Curious, Min Thuan asked a bystander, "What's going on?" "They say there's a ghost here," she whispered, her face tense. "They called this staying shaman to exorcise it." Min Thuan stifled a laugh. The shaman, wielding a bamboo tube, sprayed liquid through a flaming torch, chanting in an unknown tongue before speaking slowly in Vietnamese. A sudden gust toppled the lamp, igniting the altar cloth. As onlookers doused the flames, the scarf-wrapped woman collapsed, then rose, claiming a spirit had possessed her. The shaman demanded payment for her ordeal, and the grove's owner handed her 500,000 dong. The shaman, distributing business cards, promised prosperity and ghost-banishing services before riding off. At a secluded path, he met the scarf-wrapped woman, praising her performance in their staged act. That night, Ong Nam's dog howled again, unnerving Min Thuan. Grabbing his headlamp, he slipped into the grove, moving like a detective on a stakeout. A rush of wind and a fleeting shadow made his heart race. "Who's there? I'm not afraid of ghosts," he called, sweeping his light across the trees. A second beam cut through the dark, Che, who'd followed him. "What are you doing out here alone?" Min Thuan hesitated, then confessed, "It's not scientific, but I feel like an invisible presence is watching me." Che shivered. "A ghost?" "I don't know. But if it's real, it's not here to harm me. Maybe it's trying to tell me something." Che nodded. "Like a criminal's guilt haunting them?" "Exactly. The worst criminals feel no fear, no remorse. I can't shake this feeling, but I don't know where to start." Che suggested, "The hut. The guy who told you about the chip." Min Thuan resolved to return to the abandoned hut on the hill, now accessible via a newly paved road. The dilapidated shelter, coated in dust, held a rotting hammock and a pile of old blankets. As he searched for clues, the mystery of the chip and the melancholy stranger deepened, pulling him further into a web of injustice, ghosts, and hidden truths. The ghostly echoes of the rubber grove. The rubber grove stood desolate, its ancient trees, weathered and worn, awaiting the axe for clearance. Their trunks, stripped bare by relentless tapping, bore the scars of spiral cuts, as if the land itself had been drained of life. Lai Min Thuan stepped out from the abandoned hut, his flashlight cutting through the dimness. Suddenly, its beam caught a figure in a white shirt, a young man crouched in the leaf litter, gathering termite mushrooms. Beside him, a plastic bag held a few of the fungi, their earthy scent mingling with the damp air. During his three-togethers political training in this southeastern region, Min Thuan had learned that from May to August, as the rainy season began, termite mushrooms sprouted abundantly in these rubber forests. Locals, including Ong Nam, often foraged for them at night, coinciding with the hours they tapped rubber, turning the fungi into simple, hearty dishes. The young man in white, noticing the light, turned to face Min Thuan. To his surprise, it was the same youth he'd met here before, Bui Tan Lam. "Picking mushrooms?" Min Thuan asked. Tan Lam's eyes, brimming with hope and quiet admiration, met his. He nodded softly. Min Thuan knelt beside him, casually helping to gather a few mushrooms. In an accidental brush, their hands touched as they reached for the same stalk. Min Thuan felt the icy chill of Tan Lam's skin, and the youth quickly withdrew his hand, as if startled by the warmth of Min Thuan's touch. Min Thuan chuckled, a touch sheepish, like a clumsy rookie cop. "Your hand's freezing." Tan Lam shook his head, his voice heavy with longing. "It's normal, isn't it? Scientists say feelings of warmth or cold depend on emotions. If someone feels isolated, lonely, or sad, they're more likely to feel cold. But those surrounded by family, friends, or love, they feel warmth. Your hand, it's so warm. You've come south for your training, living like family with the locals, loved by so many." Min Thuan understood the science of body heat, but Tan Lam's words stirred a pang of empathy. "You don't have happiness? No family?" Tan Lam's gaze drifted to a distant horizon, as if unearthing a buried past. 5 years ago, my parents disowned me. I came to this red soil land to survive. I had to drop out of school because of the stigma, from friends, society. Even my family, my last refuge, turned me away. I had nowhere else to go. His voice broke, tears spilling. When I arrived here, I worked for a man named Le Van Man. People call him Manchun. Why Manchun? Minh Thuan asked, intrigued. When he gambled in Vietnam, he'd press his ear to the bamboo basket to hear the dice rattle in the bowl. That's how he got the name. Even in Cambodian casinos, he'd listen to the dice, betting huge sums when he sensed the roll. People followed his lead, betting with him, fearing his uncanny luck. A sudden gust swept through the grove, unnatural and cold, as if from the underworld. Ton Lam's eyes, now tinged with a spectral unease, darted toward two distant figures, white and black shadows in the twilight. Grabbing Minh Thuan's hand, he urged, "Come to the hut with me." As Minh Thuan reluctantly followed, he pressed, "Why are you running? What's scaring you?" Inside the hut, Ton Lam flung a blanket over them, huddling on the bamboo bed. "I'm terrified of the toxic winds here. Your warmth, let me borrow it for a moment." Minh Thuan, sensing no harm, obliged. The youth's body was indeed chilled, likely from foraging in the damp night air. High above, the white and black impermanences hovered, peering into the grove. His ghostly aura was here, the white impermanence muttered. Bui Ton Lam used it to transmit his voice. Why can't we sense it now? The black impermanence speculated, perhaps we were mistaken. The white one scanned the hut below, detecting no spectral trace. Let's go. Beneath the blanket, Ton Lam thought, if I reveal myself, he'll know I'm a ghost and shun me. Better to hold my grievances and stay near him. His righteousness and vibrant yang energy warm my very soul. Minh Thuan's gentle voice broke the silence. Why'd you stop talking? I just want to hold on to this warmth a little longer. Talking might make it fade. From that moment, Ton Lam felt the heat of Minh Thuan's presence intensify, like a fire kindling his spectral form. He asked, "Aren't you going back to the house?" "Nah, I'll sleep here with you tonight. Then I'll set up the mosquito net." Minh Thuan grinned. "Call me on, big brother." Ton Lam, stretching the net, smiled back. "What? I can't call you that." As he tucked the net under the blanket, Ton Lam nestled against Minh Thuan's arm, their closeness a quiet comfort. Minh Thuan teased, pinching his chin. "No on yet?" On asterisk, Ton Lam relented, his tone half-hearted. "Not sincere enough." Ton Lam playfully nudged Minh Thuan's stomach. "Sleep on. You're up at 5:30 for exercises." "How do you know that?" Minh Thuan asked, surprised. It was true. "You wash dishes, cook, chop wood, feed the chickens and dogs, like you're one of the locals. People talk about you and the other cadets." Minh Thuan chuckled. "Fair enough. Sleep, then. Stop chatting." He slung a leg over, settling in. Above, an eerie wind rustled the canopy, bending branches. The white impermanence, chain in hand, glided like a silent helicopter, while the black one, wielding a mystical staff, circled the grove. "Strange," the white one said. "His aura flickers, then vanishes." The black impermanence opened the book of life and death, its pages glowing. Images of rubber tappers at work appeared, their lifespans still long. The hut revealed only one vibrant yang aura, Minh Thuan's. "He's sleeping alone under a blanket," the black one noted. Could Bui Ton Lam be absorbing his yang energy, masking his yin aura? The white one wondered. "He's becoming a ghost neither yin nor yang, slipping through our grasp. Why could we track him before but not now?" The black impermanence shook its head. "I don't know." The demons drifted to another abandoned hut, their words and forms unseen and unheard by the living. Minh Thuan, asleep on the simple bamboo bed, remained oblivious. The white impermanence studied him. Could Ton Lam be using this man's righteousness to evade us? Even your book can't find him. The black one pondered. Last time, he hid in that man's satchel, and a book within repelled your chain. What kind of mortal book holds such power? The white impermanence sighed, frustrated. In the quiet night, near a cassava patch ready for harvest, a man in a police uniform sat on a motorbike, using a flashlight instead of the headlight. He swept the beam across the path, as he had 3 times before. A figure approached, walking oddly, head bowed, navigating the dark without a light. The officer, assuming it was one of Mana's men delivering cash wrapped in newspaper, took the package without much thought. But the figure's unnatural demeanor piqued his suspicion. "New guy for Man?" he asked. The figure nodded silently. "Been with him long? You seem off." Another nod, then the figure turned and left, a gust rustling the cassava. The officer found it strange but dismissed it. Winds were common here. Still, the figure's reticence and oddity lingered. Instead of leaving, the officer shook the package, feeling its weight. Tearing it open, he found a rectangular box, one end unsealed. Inside, a coiled kite snake hissed, prompting a scream as he flung it away. The snake slithered off, faster in the dark. Panicked, he sped away on his bike. Near the dilapidated hut, Min Thuan swept his flashlight along the path, hoping to spot Bui Tant Lam. When a familiar figure appeared, he hurried to meet him. "Waiting long, on?" Tant Lam asked. "Not too long." They walked arm in arm toward the hut, hands now linked. Min Thuan pressed, "Tell me more about your boss." Tant Lam shook his head. Min Thuan caught the gesture. "Why not? I want to know about this man, the owner of this grove. He doesn't come here often, does he?" Tant Lam nodded. "Why do you keep nodding or shaking your head? Are you depressed?" Another nod. Min Thuan, moved, pulled him closer. "I need to know why, so I can help you." Tant Lam's original intent was to reveal his unjust death, but now, fearing Min Thuan would reject him as a ghost, he held back. "Why won't you talk about Mansion anymore?" Min Thuan asked. "I don't want to. I've lost faith in justice and the law." "Don't say that," Min Thuan chided. "There are many silent, upright people working for justice." "Maybe, but not here. Even the Black Impermanence has more compassion than them. Its morality is real, not fake. It enforces the underworld's laws but often spares wronged souls. If justice existed in the mortal world, it wouldn't need to." Min Thuan laughed. "You believe in legends? I'm not even sure ghosts are real." Tant Lam deflected. "I'm like you, but I admire the Black Impermanence. It's moral, unlike the White One, who bullies it and shifts blame." High on a rubber tree, the Black Impermanence, moved, nearly wept. Asterisk finally, "A soul understands me. That White Impermanence is a tyrant." Asterisk it flew off to intercept its counterpart. "Find Bui Tant Lam?" the White One asked. The Black One pointed vaguely. "He went that way." One day, Tant Lam's ghost lingered by a hillside, watching the red dirt path Min Thuan often took. Hiding in the shade to avoid the sun's rays, he squinted when a beam grazed him, retreating under the canopy. As the sun dipped, he emerged, spotting Min Thuan approaching, a satchel slung backward, a cluster of red wildflowers tucked inside. Min Thuan offered the flowers, and they walked together, chatting. The flowers, seemingly floating, caught the eye of a uniformed officer waiting for Mana's men. Blinking, he confirmed the surreal sight, a bouquet moving on its own beside Min Thuan, who appeared to converse with the air. "Is that Bui Tant Lam's ghost seeking revenge?" the officer thought, recalling the night a stranger delivered a snake-filled box. Shivering, he jumped when a hand tapped his shoulder. It was Mana's man, laughing. "A cop scared of ghosts?" He handed over a black plastic bag. 30 million. "Count it, I'm not responsible if it's short." Wary, the officer made him open it, confirming the cash before dismissing him. Determined to investigate the eerie sight, he approached Min Thuan, greeting him casually. Noticing the flowers in the satchel, he asked, "Were you with someone earlier?" Min Thuan shook his head. "Really?" "Really. Something wrong?" "Nothing. I'll head off." As the officer rode away, Min Thuan resumed talking to Tant Lam. "Keep telling me." "It's hard, Tant Lam sighed, his faith eroded. "A cadet like you can't touch them." Min Thuan patted his shoulder. "You told the right person." Tant Lam wept. "You know I'm a ghost now. Are you scared?" "No. But the longer I stay, the more I drain your yang energy. I don't want to harm you. I've absorbed your energy to become neither yin nor yang. I can take revenge myself." He vanished into the grove. Min Thuan chased after him, shouting, "Don't. Trust me, I'll bring those behind your staged murder to justice. You can't take vengeance yourself." On a dark, deserted road lined with rubber trees, a black luxury car carried 4 men, including man, exhausted from gambling, reclining on a tattooed man's lap. 30 minutes from their lavish villa, the driver spotted a figure, tall like a man, with long hair obscuring its face. He honked frantically. "What's that? Human or ghost?" Man asked, sitting up. "What now?" The driver replied. "Back up." Man ordered. The car reversed, seeking another route. Man, unnerved, muttered, "First a snake in a box, now this white figure blocking the road." The driver screamed, "It's there again." "Hit it." Man barked. The driver floored the gas, aiming for the figure. The car's sensors blared, but the figure, a ghost, stood unharmed before a rubber tree. The car crashed, airbags deploying. Man, bloodied and with a severed arm, was dragged from the wreckage as the car exploded. Min Thuan, hearing the blast from the hut, raced to the scene. He saw a long, spectral tongue lash from a tree toward man, who was being dragged by 2 men. Min Thuan threw himself in its path, forcing it to retreat. Rushing to the tree, he pleaded, "If you kill man, we lose a witness. The dead can't testify. Your case involves forensics, investigators, so many layers. Trust me." Tan Lam's ghost raged, "Will the law execute them, or will they buy their way out? I am the law. My father works at the central level. Trust me." Min Thuan fell to his knees, tears streaming. Tan Lam's blood-red eyes softened, his hair returning to its mortal form. He descended, kneeling to embrace Min Thuan, sobbing. "Do you trust me?" Tan Lam nodded. A soul-reaping chain shot from behind, ensnaring Tan Lam, yanking him into the forest. Min Thuan chased, screaming, "No." The black impermanence intervened, shattering the chain. "Run!" It urged Tan Lam. "Thank you, Lord Black." Tan Lam fled as the white impermanence fumed. "What are you doing?" "Let him stay to clear his name. You betray the underworld." The white one brandished its chain. "Want to fight?" The black one taunted. "You take credit for my work and blame me for your failures." As the impermanences clashed, Tan Lam and Min Thuan fled hand in hand. In the hospital, man, haggard from nightmares, confided to his man, "I keep thinking of Bui Tan Lam's death. That ghost caused this crash, I recognize its stance." His man suggested a skilled monk who could trap ghosts. The next day, in the abandoned hut, the monk rang a bell, chanting from a scripture. A gust swept through, and Mana's men, skeptical but shaken, watched as the monk declared, "It's here." Circling the bed where Tan Lam died, the monk rang the bell, sealed it with yellow talismans, and claimed, "I've trapped its soul." A man handed over 10 million dong. As they left for gambling, a stranger offered to drive the monk. Alone in the grove, the monk found himself back in the hut, darkness falling. A chilling voice taunted, "Catch me." The monk fled, stumbling, as Tan Lam's ghost flickered between trees. "Use your bell." Pleading for mercy, the monk abandoned the money and escaped. The next morning, a kind-faced rubber tapper set up an offering for wandering souls outside the hut, burning incense and praying. "I'm sorry, Bui Tan Lam. I'm just a hired tapper, scraping by for my sick family. Man promised 5 months' pay to demolish this hut, but I begged him for a day to warn you to find a new refuge. He agreed, and I'll build you a shrine on my land." As he burned offerings, Tan Lam's voice whispered, "There's 10 million in the blanket. Don't tell anyone. Give it to needy children. Your kindness warms me, I don't need food or offerings. I feel your heart." The tapper, unshaken, found the money, stunned. Tan Lam continued, "Tonight, Haifeng gamblers, skilled at reading dice, will topple Mana's fortune at the villa. When they roll, I'll guide you to take their winnings. Sneak out before 5 a.m. and never return." The tapper nodded. "Understood." Tan Lam added, "Tomorrow, man will be desperate. Buy this grove cheap. The living fear ghosts, but no mortal can trap us. True monks pacify with compassion, not deceit. Your wisdom earns our respect." A gust swept from the hut, and Tan Lam was gone. Months later, a major operation dismantled a vast gambling ring, exposing corruption and cover-ups. The Central Police Committee reopened Tan Lam's case, unmasking a staged murder and complicit officials. The anti-corruption task force joined the probe, arresting all involved. As the rubber trees shed their old leaves for new, the region bloomed with vibrant green. Min Thuan returned, determined to serve here permanently, stepping through the decayed leaves toward the abandoned hut in the fading light. The scene remained, but Tan Lam was gone. A gust stirred the leaves, and Min Thuan turned to see two figures, one white, one black, beside Tan Lam's ghost. "Is that you?" Min Thuan asked. The white figure nodded. "Your efforts cleared his name. He's been appointed to enforce justice with Lord Black. The King of Hell decrees that wronged souls may linger to seek justice. I was disciplined for my rigidity, unlike Lord Black's compassion." Lord Black smiled. Tan Lam spoke, "I'm here to say goodbye. I'm glad you'll serve here. You kept your promise, trust me. I'll always cherish the 6 lotus petals you pressed in your book from Nam Dan's lake. Farewell." The figures vanished, leaving Min Thuan alone in the twilight, the new leaves whispering of justice reclaimed.